Grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. It is September the 17th, 1440 on the sun calendar, 1441 on the moon calendar, and 2020 on the Greco-Roman calendar. We want to welcome
Islam.
the heirs to the call, Islam, Grand Rising. And we want to start the call off with just getting ourselves united with one another yet again. We are united already. We just want to keep that united energy flowing. And so for just a minute or two while the other Moors come in to the meeting, if we could just, in the spirit, just speak unity over our nation. And I'm happy to cast the spell and break the spells of, I'll break the spell of disunity, cast the spell of unity as you all are as powerful to do as well. And, you know, we are unified. We are unified. We are unified. That's the spell 3 times, Islam. And so I cast that spell on our nation and break any spells of disunity. Not that we even see that much of that. We don't see very much disunity in our nation. We see heirs unifying and doing all that we can to continue to come together and be unified. And that I'm very, very grateful for, because, you know, we, for so long as when we thought that we were Negro, Black, Colored, and African American, they had us casting the spell on ourselves that, oh, Black folks can't never get together, Black folks can't unify, can't do this, can't do that. And they're right, Black people cannot do that, but the Moors can. Islam. And so with that, we are so grateful for the ancestral energy that allows us to, that allows our energy to grow and to rise together. Are there any testaments or things going on in the territory, such as nationality drives or anything like that going on in the territories that we need to know about? Anything going on in the territory that we need to know about or not? Are there any court actions as well? There is a little bit of feedback coming from some of the channels here, and so if there's feedback, if you'll star 6 to mute, so that the feedback does not come, that would be helpful. And then if yes, Empress Anaya.
Did I interrupt you? Do you want to finish?
No, go ahead. I see you on the sound meter. Go ahead. Go ahead, Empress.
I was just wondering about the flag in your area, in your territory. Did they take it down?
Welcome to the they did take it down. There's a little bit of, that's not a bad thing though. That's not a bad thing. And I'll tell you why. But let me first deal with the
Okay.
There are, yes, Islam. There's a little bit of feedback coming from some of the channels on the call. So I'm going to mute just a few of them. And that way we can hear. There it is. So with regard to the flag, some of you may know and some may not know. We're so proud of our demonstrations. So in this territory on, it's been about, well, I would have to go on YouTube to see which day it was, but it's been about a week now. We did go out into the territories, and we do that often, almost every day. We go out into the territory and just kind of look around to see what's going on with our resources, what's going on in the territories. And if we see any resources in the territories that are being misused or mishandled or left abandoned, we go ahead and claim it and put our writs and affidavits and our flag on them and claim them. So about a week ago, we traveled in the jurisdiction of our ancestral inherited estate, of which no United States corporation company citizen has personam jurisdiction over us at all, or over any more. But we were driving through the territory, or traveling through the territory rather, and we saw that the post office here building was left abandoned, open. The front door was open. It was not business hours. So it was not universal commerce hours for them. And the gate was left ajar. And so we videoed that resource being left abandoned. There was no flag up. And so we put our flag up, and we made sure that we mentioned that this resource, you know, if it is hours where things are supposed to be going on there, then it should be open. You know, at least the front door should be open so that people can go in and out and do commerce. But if it's not those hours, then why is the whole thing left open, wide open, gates and all, and no flag, no nothing going on there? That is a waste of our resources, and it's an abandonment of our resources from what we can see there. And so we put our flag up and we said, okay, we'll take that resource back. And the only reason that the flag did not stay up there is because those who work that resource, the corporates who have been occupying that resource, went and occupied the resource once again. And so ideally, and we stated this previously, ideally, when a resource in our territories is abandoned, and I'm so glad you asked this question because it's going to bring up a whole bunch of the things that I wrote down to talk about for us to discuss as a nation. When the resources in our territories are abandoned, it is up to us to secure them and and begin using them. But their flag had to go back up, or it went back up, because when we claimed it, I was the only one there. And there was not 6 or 7 more there who could have actually taken that resource and began using it. Okay, so ideally, when we claim a resource in our territory, we need more there who can begin using that resource in the manner that it was meant to be used. Okay, so we need more who know how to work the post office, and we know we have many. We know we have many because many more have already done that. My father used to work at the post office as well, you know, and so my father used to work at the territory, at the post office as well when he was here in this form. He has since transitioned, but there are many more who worked at the post office. And so the Moors should always be right there ready to go ahead, or we should be able to pick up the phone and say, okay, we've already liened the post office, and that's another reason why that was done, is we liened the post office. I'm sorry,
oh, that's okay.
There's a couple that are coming. There are a couple that are coming up on the sound meter, and I just want to make sure that we can hear this because this is the process. The post office had already been liened. We had already done a court action, and many more have done court actions where the post office is concerned, or the postal service is concerned. The postal service is occupying the post office. That's a corporation. The postal service is a corporation. They're occupying the post office. And so if we don't want them occupying our resources, we have to be prepared to take those resources over and use them immediately. So ideally, when we do something like that, the Moors should be right there on site ready to go in and use that resource because it's been abandoned. So whenever you see things that you've liened and done court actions on, and you've notified everyone, if you see that abandoned, then this is how the peaceful transition is to take place. Then we go and we begin using that resource, and we put up our flag, and the Moors go in and they start working. And it doesn't have to be 30 Moors working in there. It can be 2 or 3 or 4. More than one. It should always be more than one, because we always go in 2, 3, 4, 5, however many. But then the ones who commit to working there should work there and keep things moving, you see. And then also you have to know the law when it comes to postal, the difference between corporate postal business and sovereign postal business. Sovereign postal post office business or commerce, sovereign commerce, is done in gold and silverback lawful coinage or lawful instrument. Okay? And so we have to have those instruments going back and forth as opposed to fiat. We can't do fiat, that fiat piece. You know, and it would be the flip of what it is right now. Right now, I did a video about 2 months ago on the postal process that we use, where we don't even go into those to the foreigners who are at the counter. We don't even have to go into them to get our things sent off. We go and we use a specific process where we do not need fiat to get our things sent. And we go and deposit those things into the allodial, it's like a deposit box there. And then we don't have any need to deal with that type of commerce, United States Corporation Company commerce. Okay, and so when we take over, okay, when we return to our rightful place where the post office is concerned and not the corporation, then it's going to be just the opposite of what it is right now, where we will be able to do our business, banking and postal and post office, you know, mailings and such. We'll be able to do that at the front counter, and the only thing that the foreigners will do is just come in and drop their things off in a box, okay, over the way we're doing it now, and the Moors will be able to come and do whatever they need to do in terms of banking, because we all know that the post office is a bank. And since that is the final step in nationalizing the resources, is that the Moors are actually sitting there doing the work. Okay? And so that's why their flag had to go back up, is because there were no Moors there to take that resource. It was just me. Me and the ancestors. And that's okay for now, but that brings me to our next subject, but I'll go into the next subject because there's a couple of questions from our emphasis in the chat. I'd love to hear the questions, Islam. Empress Jonaya and Empress Melo.
Yes, I just want to get a little bit more information as far as okay, so they came back and they took the flag down. So, and we are supposed to get, you know, some Moors together and go in there and start working. So the question is, are there any Moors in your area where you can start doing this, that already have post office experience?
Well, the thing is, we all have administrative experience. We all have that. And so the answer to the question is there are not enough Moors in this area. However, I cannot tell Moors to come to this area. That's something that Allah has to tell them. And when Allah tells Moors to come here to do the things that we have to do in this area, then Allah will sustain them. But we'll all be working together. That switch has to happen at some point. But I'm not going to tell Moors to come here. That's something Allah has to tell them to do. Because some will be needed in their territory. Meanwhile, others will be needed here until we get everything going here the way that we know that the ancestors are telling us to do it. You know. So, because whoever, if Moors come here, they have to be able to sustain themselves during the transitionary period. So Allah will tell them when to do that. If, you know, and if not, we're going to keep the work going because we already know that the ancestors are going to meet our needs.
Illinois territory.
Yeah. Grand Rising. Does that answer the question, Empress, with regard to that? There are a few more in the territory.
Michelle.
Hold on for just a moment. There are a lot of Moors in the territory. There are just a few Moors in this territory. However, we need more Moors. We need more Moors as well. Yeah.
Yes. Well, the reason why I brought it up was you were ready to put it out there.
Hold on. There's an echo.
Yes.
Go ahead, Empress. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, because if you were ready to put it out there, sometimes we require somewhat of an invitation, like, you know, yeah, I'm ready. So anytime any Moors want to come here, you know, they can come. But I was not getting.
I can't tell them that because they have to actually be looking within first.
Right.
And they have to have a divine urge to be here. That's not, because what if they come here? I mean, in other words, no one can say, hey, all Moors come to this area.
How come all the nastiness yesterday, Michelle? Empress Michelle, how come all the nastiness yesterday?
We can't even, wait a minute, just a moment. Let me get him out of here.
Okay.
And so we can't just say, hey, all Moors come here, because when Moors come here, we actually have to, he don't really want us to get this out because he knows where we're going. We're about to unify.
I'm not trying, I guess maybe I'm not wording it. I'm not trying to say that you putting it out.
Yeah.
Like you were asking them to come.
How come you didn't answer that lady's questions yesterday? There was that lady that kept asking questions yesterday. Michelle, I'm speaking to you, Michelle, Empress Michelle. How come you didn't answer those questions yesterday, Empress Michelle? Michelle, are you listening to me?
Don't respond.
Empress Michelle.
Just find him.
Empress Michelle, how come you didn't answer those ladies' questions yesterday? She was being very respectful, and you people were nothing but nasty to her. What happened to all your love?
Hold on. Okay, I got him. Go ahead. Go ahead, Empress Jonaya.
Well,
I was going, so they really, you know. But go ahead, Empress.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, just kind of without really asking, but just letting the Moors know that you were ready to take over that territory of the post office. If you're ready, then I'm sure that other Moors would want to be coming there.
It can't even be when I'm ready. It has to be. They have to actually know that for themselves, within themselves. That's not. It can't even be when I'm ready, because they can't base what they do on me. They have to actually base it on what the ancestors tell them.
Well, my ancestors right now tell them, when you're ready, I'm coming. I'm not going to come there if you're not ready. Yes.
Islam.
Well, Islam.
It's Empress Messiah. It's Empress Messiah, Illinois territory. I'm thinking that she's trying to say, if nobody knows that this is what's needed, then they won't come. But as soon as you just give the word, people are ready. Soldiers at arms.
Islam.
Well, she kind of answered, but like I said, I was kind of like, well, if you're not ready, then I'm not ready to come either.
You better keep locking it up, Pauline, because I'm going to keep calling back.
So it kind of, I have to kind of see myself, you know, that you're ready, and because I know when I'm ready.
Well, and when you're ready, you will come just because you want to come. It won't be. You know what I'm saying? There's a divine urge within each one of us. You know what I'm saying? There's a divine urge that will tell us what to do. Just like when we first woke up, there was a divine urge that told us to study. There was a divine urge that said to do certain things, and we did those things, and it worked out for us the way that, you know, the ancestors wanted to show us whatever they wanted to show us, you see. And so that has to be the reason, you see.
Well, I see what you're saying. It's just like we were not ready for the policy enforcers or the Sharifian group. But as more and more of us are ready, then we're able to move forward when we see that, you know, that more people are waking up to join.
Work out to do it. Say if I was doing it in our territory, how would we navigate that with dealing with the gold standard type exchange?
So before you can operate in universal commerce competently, you actually have to know that we're already on the gold standard. Been on it and never, the gold standard is jurisdictional. We have never been off the gold standard because Albions do not have the authority to take us off of that which we are. Jurisdiction cannot be waived even by consent of both parties, but we have to competently articulate that. And so even now, very, very seldom do I use fiat. And that fiat is just the Federal Reserve note in your hand, the green Federal Reserve note in your hand. But, for example, all of our bank accounts, anyone who has done a termination of corporate contracts, their bank account is now, there's a little bit of feedback coming from somewhere. Can you all hear that? I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a little bit of feedback coming. Okay, so their bank account is now transferring what it's always been transferring in a sense, is ones and zeros. It's transferring numbers. Numbers cannot be capitalized. Only letters can be capitalized. So when we change our account to, when we say we've terminated all corporate contracts, that means we don't have a contract with the bank, and we're now stepping up as the creditor to those ones and zeros that's going back and forth. And until enough Moors get that in their heads that the termination of corporate contracts means that you put yourself on the gold standard. Then from there, enough Moors, which they do, we already know, we got enough Moors with all of this. Many Moors overstand this already. That's why we don't have as many questions about, and we should have questions. Questions are great. We need them. We need as many questions as you have to ask. We need them. But many of them get it that when you terminate corporate contracts and then you read what you did, read what you terminated, and read what you stepped up as. You see, then when you step up that way, you already know you're on the gold standard, and then, for example, when I go to the grocery store and things like that, I don't have any of those any debt that I'm transferring, none whatsoever. I don't use this stuff right here. The last time I used it, it was because a Moor brought some, and he just felt like he had to give. You know, we don't solicit anything like that because we just don't. We have no need for that. The ancestors take care of us. But a Moor came and brought some fiat, and so I'm like, you know, I'll use it until it's gone, but after that, I'm not using that anymore even. And even with fiat, if I take it to the bank and I put it into that bank account, the bank account then transfers it back over to gold-backed sovereign credit. So you know how people take the fiat and go and buy gold with it or silver with it, which many of you have done? Okay, same thing, except I exchange it for sovereign credit. And then I use the sovereign credits. That way there's still no contract whenever I make exchanges and do commerce. So with regard to the question of how would that work, that's how it works, but you have to know that that's how it works. The changing back and forth between, and it's not even a back and forth. When things are changed over to the gold standard, when we as the heirs nationalize our bank accounts and things and change them to the gold standard, we're no longer operating under contract at all, even though we're still sliding cards and using those cards to do things. It has been a sovereign resource, okay? And it's a sovereign resource because there's no human albion in between us and those ones and zeros. And then I don't go into the branch. I don't do the retail thing. I do the same thing I do at the post office. If I have something to do, I'll go to the ATM and do it because that's not a human. So that corporate covering, because that's all the corporate covering is having an albion do something. The corporate covering is having the albion be your arm, leg, arm, head. Okay? That's what that is. And we don't need them to be our arm, leg, arm, head, Allah. We are the Allah. Okay, so those who, however you are sustaining yourself right now, is how you would sustain yourself if you came here until we continue doing what we're doing, because we're going to continue doing what we're doing. Okay, so however you're sustaining yourself now is how you would do it when you come here, if you came here, and that's if Allah led you here. Because again, I can't tell anyone to come here. We can't tell sovereigns what to do, period. We only make suggestions, and then, you know, if there's something that's needed, we put the need out there, but there's nothing like we can't. That's something Allah has to impress on you to do. You know, because Allah is going to be leading you even here the same way Allah is leading you where you are. It's just it'll be more of us. And we'll be doing things more communally.
Islam, Empress Light. Just to make a quick comment so nobody is confused about what's going on. And I agree that we have to be led by the ancestors, by Allah, for everything that we do and all of our actions, because if even with respect to the post offices and the ones that have been abandoned, because if we're not led, and it'll be just like the people, even though we've done our liens and we've done all those things, it'll be just like those who did the repossessions, and in their zeal, and they weren't led by the ancestors, they went there and tried to take possession without, it was, because there's a time and a place for everything, and so they go and they do that without being led in their zeal, and then the policy officers, enforcers show up. And so we don't want anybody to end up in those situations either. Okay. So, yes, you have to be led by the ancestors and by Allah. So I agree. Islam, I yield.
Yes, Islam. And then, again, and that's the thing about the divine urge. The divine urge will tell you exactly what you need to do. It'll tell you how to operate. And the divine urge is not something way out there. The divine urge is within us, all of us. Whatever it is that led us to get up and study, whatever it is that told us we must be outside of that system, whatever it is that urge, that divine urge that told you that, is the divine urge that will say, okay, it's time to do this, or okay, it's time to do that demonstration. Because these are all demonstrations that we're doing. Here, we need security, just to stand at the places that we have claimed, to just stand there and guard them, just so that, you know, because they were perceived as abandoned. So you're not guarding them for the sake of war. That's not why you know, our security would work. Our security works because some are thinking things are abandoned when they're not abandoned. And right now, our affidavits are speaking at those places. We have some land here where the affidavits are speaking. But it would be, in my, you know, from what I can see, it would be far more productive for the Moors, for us as a nation, if we had Moors who could just stand there and, you know, occupy, basically. And it's not even occupying, but it's standing there saying, this is not abandoned. Here in this territory, there are buildings that were covered in the mud flood that are now making themselves known. The buildings are coming, you can see them sticking up out of the ground. They're made of limestone, and the Albions, they've been keeping paths clear to those sites. Those are ancient historical sites or historical sites that it's not the Albion's job to be guarding that stuff and to be, you know, clearing the lands off and let's get in there and see what our ancestors have in there. It's not the Albions. They can't do it. That's why they haven't done it. It's our job to do that. And here in this territory, our ancient sites are all over the place showing. And we need, you know, we need more to if nothing else, just to stand at the site and just, you know, make sure that our flag is there, you know, if nothing else. The sites are here. But again, we can't tell Moors to come here and do that. That's something that the ancestors have to speak to you specifically to do, you know. And then that's also when we come together in that manner. Because, see, our Prophet Noble Drew Ali said we need to live together, live near each other. Did he not say that? Okay, he did say that. And from what I'm seeing, there's no time like the present that we live around each other and be near each other. We need to exchange that energy. And we need to grow our nations and governments in the manner that we should. And it needs to be done peacefully, and it needs to be done in an organized manner. And we can do that when we're together. So, you know, yes, we're ready for hundreds of Moors to be here, thousands of Moors to be here. We're ready for that. But we can't tell not a single Moor to come here. That has to be something that the Moors are told to do by that within them. You know. There are skill sets and equipment that are needed here. When excavating the historical Moorish American sites, many of you may have seen on social media where I posted about one of the limestone, it was a staircase, a limestone staircase here at one of the sites. And that limestone staircase, underneath it and all around it is other structures, limestone structures that are buried, but you can see them sticking up. You can go down on Google Earth and look right down and you can see the huge structures. And the Albions, all they did was just pave over some of that stuff and put a road over it and put, you know, some domiciles. Like some of you have pyramids in your territories, and the Albions have domiciles on top of the pyramids. You know, but that nobody told them that they couldn't do that. So I feel that, you know, our strongest thing that we can do our strongest demonstration that we can do is to gather and begin doing things as, you know, some people call it doing things in a communal way, where we just kind of are close to one another and we assist one another in that way, and then we work towards the common goal of our nation and our government to get things going, to unearth those sites. The site that's here has a lot of blackberries, and from what I was speaking with Empress Michelle earlier today about that, that's medicinal. So we don't even really have to do too much with regard to getting rid of that. We can use the plants that are on the site, but the sites need to be cleared so we can see what's in the structures. And the structures are all over this territory. Okay, so we need to, you know, I know, and I trust the ancestors 1,000 billion bajillion%, if I might use those phrases. I trust them with my all, and I know that they will provide us with everything that we need. Yes, I'm gonna go ahead. I'll unlock the conference. I know they're trying to get in, and you know, this information, all of the information.
You better keep locking it up, Pauline, because
no, I don't have to lock it up. Quiet, get out of here. And so we, you know, we need to share this information. It needs to go on the public record, etc., so that we can at least know what our nation needs and know what needs to be done, you know. And then, too, you can't really tell other Moors to come to this particular place simply because we don't know what they need, what their territory's needs are, and what Allah may have told them about the territory that they're in. And that's why we depend on the ancestors and the divine urge to do that work for us. And we're going to keep doing the work that we're doing right now. Moors have said in the past that they wanted to come here, and, you know, again, I have to tell
lock
them
it up, Pauline. You better lock it up, or I'm going
to. They've, you know, I tell them the same thing. I would love for them to be here, but I can't tell them to come. So anyway, we do need to start getting skill sets in the territories together, because in other territories you all have things in your territories as well as those who may come here. You have things in your territories that are going to need to be done, and we need to start gathering that information, and it's coming through really quickly. So whenever we say we have a need, or one of the territories says that they need something, other Moors have stepped up beautifully. For example, last week on this past Sunday, where the schools, the Moorish schools are concerned, that information came from the Moors so beautifully and so quickly. The Empresses stepped all the way up and put some beautiful information out there. And I'm looking forward to this Sunday them sharing that information, because it's going to be absolutely just mind-blowing how quickly it came together. So I know that this will come together as well. You know, we do need
why won't you admit that you guys are nothing but a cult?
Like that.
Pauline, why don't you admit this is a cult, and you got people like Michelle who are just as big as fraud as you are, Pauline? This is nothing but a bunch of bullshit.
Just a moment. Hold on.
And all your stupid followers, and you know that it's a fraud. All you do is talk about horoscopes, and you're going to take over horoscopes with the fucking world with your horoscopes. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. So that's where we are with that. But in the territory, start getting your skill set together so that we can start working together, because that other thing, that other thing known that people used to think was the government, that's a finish, it's a wrap, that's a done deal. So it's our turn. We have to come together in the territories and start working together on the schools. So if there are empresses, connect with those other empresses in the territories who
better lock it up again, Pauline, because I'm gonna keep calling back.
Who have
what? Why? Why would you call back?
Please don't talk back to them. Don't, because they want the attention, and this they do not want. I'm gonna tell you that right now, because it puts them out of a job, and that's our job. It's to
Michelle posted in the
lock it up, Pauline. Pauline,
go ahead.
About the red ink. Yeah, I was wondering if Michelle could speak on that about the red ink, because I haven't experienced that yet.
Empress or more. Can you talk about that? Because that's important. That's really important. I'm telling you all, when people ask about the gold standard and all of that, those people already know their system's finished and they need these heirs to do what needs to be done. Go ahead, Empress Amore, with regard to the red pen.
Well, the red pen is the blood of the Moors, and we sign our name in blood. They can't do that.
Yes.
So,
and
that's why we.
That's the only.
Yeah. Islam.
Empress Amore,
Michelle, you're supposed to take a Wendag with Pauline in.
Empress Amore, are you?
Islam. Can you hear me?
Okay, there you are. Yeah, there you go. Okay, yes.
Islam Amore, Michelle Bay. So I went to the dentist the other day, and he just handed me a red pen. I was like, okay. So he handed me a red pen, and I didn't ask him about it. I just looked at him like, that's the first time this ever happened. There was no black pens, no blue pens, nothing else to sign with. And then my husband, actually, consort, I don't know if that, I think that was the only pen they had. I don't know if he recognized me as that, as a creditor.
Is that you again, Michelle?
But then he, my consort, when he went to pick up his prescription, you know how you sign on the electric, on the digital thing where, you use the little fake pen? He signed that, and they said, what color do you want to use? And he was like, red. And he was like, they never asked me that before, so he hit red. And then when they printed it out or something, it was in red, because he asked for a copy or something.
Wow.
So his signature was in red. And I don't know if they're allowing everybody to make that choice or what's going on.
Well, that's the transition happening. That's the transition happening. It's the transition that we have been, all Moors have been pushing.
Okay. Do you think they're letting everyone know? Because they're not supposed to sign in red. So I'm like, are they just, is it just something that they're just letting everybody do?
Well, only the heirs can do that in it matter. And know this, even things that have to do with medicine and medical services, etc., they have it attached to the heirs. They know you're an heir. I'm telling you, okay, every last one of you, if there's anyone in here who is a Moorish American national, who, whenever they assign that fake social, if that fake social does not end in an even number, say, speak up now. If your social, if the social that they assign, because really it's not a social, we take the dashes out, because that's a math problem, and the dashes leave you a debtor. But
oh my gosh, mine does.
About everyone in here, that
mine and my
consort
consort.
In an even number, doesn't it?
No.
Yes.
Empress, my daughter does.
Mine doesn't.
Mine doesn't. I don't have a social, but and Lee just ends in an odd number.
I mean,
that's interesting, Empress. That's interesting. Very few end in an odd number. The majority of ours ends in even numbers.
Mine does. My daughter does.
Yes. all of my kin, including my daughter and my consort, all end in an even one. That the last number is an even number.
Yeah, mine does.
Well, what does that mean?
For the most part, the majority of us who ends in an even number, I wish I knew the whole meaning of it, because clearly there are some in here whose number ends in odd numbers. See, the ones, Justice Giramore and Justice Michael, theirs ends in odd numbers. 0 is neither even nor odd. 0 is neither even nor odd. But for the most part, most Moors numbers end in an in an even number.
Islam?
Islam.
A while back, I actually did a study on that as far as the social, and they go like each territory, they call them states, of course. The territory, when they assign, it depends on that, but they go through this whole algorithm type thing. Yeah. So, and it's supposed to be random, but I'm not sure if it's random or not, because how their systems are, with things. But that it just goes to some type of algorithm that they use. So, and they may even base it on your birth. I mean, because the stuff that they do. So who knows? So
Islam.
It's by that number that they know in their system who the heirs are, and that's another reason why it is assigned to the court or the corporation at birth, because there is an algorithm, and it tells them in their system that we're heirs, but then we have to come out of their system and be in our own system, which we've done with the termination of the corporate contracts. And we terminate the contract with the social, terminate the contract with the all caps name, terminate the contract with any name that has capital letters, and we do everything in all lowercase letters. And that is the creditor, all lowercase letters, including the first letter, and it's all lowercase in red. The system, all systems are they're transitioning to do what we have told them to do. And that's another reason, Empress Amore, why the red pen, that whole thing right there, is they're not, that other system's finished, like we've been saying.
Yeah.
Okay. It's finished. And everyone knows that. And so now we're being given the keys to the new system, but we have to actually do the work of demonstrating the system, our new system, and it's a sovereign system that is not corporate, it's not capitalized, it is outside of the capitalist system. Okay. And yes, the only time I've seen Albion sign in red is they put minus signs in between each word. That's the only time I've seen them sign in lowercase letters in red. They put minus signs, and they're not. And the only reason they were doing that then is because we were not doing it. But now that we are doing it, they can't do it. Because even the one doing business, that's Queen, she used to sign that way, but she can't do that anymore. That's us. In red, in all lowercase letters, is the heirs.
I believe they need our signature to keep in business.
Of course they do. They have to serve at least one Moorish American in order for them to do anything. But see, again, heirs, and this is what I'm talking about with regard to Moors doing everything ourselves, is we're supposed to be going to our own Moorish doctors. We were supposed to have our own Moorish schools, our own Moorish post office, our own Moorish court house, and all of that. We had that. And we are to have that now. That's what we're supposed to have. It's supposed to be that. And that's when Empress Jonai asked about the flag piece. That's the only way our flag is going to be up there, is when we're doing it. Just like at this Moorish American Consulate West here, our flag flies here. Because Moors are doing everything here.
Empress Delilah was awful hot under the collar.
So that's the way it's going to be with everything else. And I'm hoping that, and it's not even a hope because I already know the ancestors have done it. We just have to acknowledge it. I know that in this area, in this territory here, we have done some things just like you all have done in your territories, whereby
what happened to your peace, truth, and love bullshit?
We've done all of the proper paperwork, the court actions, and everything to in order to properly invoke jurisdiction and begin universal commerce. We've done that. And so now we're moving into other areas, such as getting ready to unearth the ancient sites that our ancestors took their time to build and put together.
Come on, Pauline, tell people what happened.
They meant for us to use those sites. That's why the sites remain covered up until now. They meant for us to use them. And it's only when we unearth that and use it properly that everything else comes. It doesn't make sense for us to go around here claiming a bunch of temporary things that are being burned up as we speak. And meanwhile, we have all types of estate that we're just walking on top of. That's sitting right here, showing us what it is. And if you look up the temple at Angkor Wat, Cambodia, the structures here look just like that. They're made out of the very same materials, limestone, etc. Very same materials. And these temporary structures around here are nothing like it. They couldn't hold water to it. And so it's our job to bring those structures back to where they need to be. Because they have things in them that got covered up too that we need to see. So, yes. Justice Jermar, you want to say a little bit more about that? Go ahead, Empress Cynthia, and then what Justice Jermar said is so true in the chat. Go ahead, Empress Cynthia.
Thank you very much. The Albions were speaking of a quantum financial system. Does that play in anything that the Moors are doing? Islam.
Our quantum financial system is in all lowercase letters. The only reason they're saying anything about a quantum financial system is because they already know what's happening. If they could have had a quantum financial system, they'd have had one by now. They don't own anything to have a quantum financial system. But if you look at our documents, look at our liens, the court actions, the documents that have gone out, how many zeros are there on them? Many. Just one lien is 100 million sovereign credits for each Moorish American. Multiply that. And then that's by each parcel. Multiply that. You need some quantum financial system for that. Yes, Empress, yes. So,
thank you.
Yes, and that's what a quantum financial system is all about. The quantum financial system is already activated. If any one of you have done a lien, that system is already activated. If any one of you has done an affidavit of jurisdiction, then you're already circulating sovereign credit. Okay? So it's important for us to recognize that everything that we have said is coming to pass exactly the way we said it. It does not look the way they trained our eyes, the two eyes, to look. It doesn't look like that. Think about it, heirs. It does not look like that. It looks like something totally different, and you actually have to have your third eye or first eye open in order to recognize and remember that everything that you're seeing happen now is a manifestation of all that the Moors have said thus far. And those who can't see it, don't worry. You'll see it eventually at some point. You'll see it. Just keep, because that other system is out of here. It's done. It's a wrap. Are there any other questions or comments about anything, really? And then we'll go into what's on the screen.
Islam.
Empress Sabrine and then Empress Cynthia.
Yeah, well, this is Sabrina. The question I have is when you lien some company, and you go to take it over. I mean, we don't really displace everybody that works for that particular company or business, do we? I mean, should we go in and what do you do? You fire everybody and then have to. Yeah, okay. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I do. I get what you're trying to say. And there's a little bit of noise in your background, Empress. I do want to respond to that.
Okay.
So,
I thought,
again, ideally, go ahead, Empress.
Well, I thought that, I don't know anything about business. I'm a retired nurse, but I worked for a company that went through mergers and acquisitions. We didn't get fired. We got, we had to write out a new application in the new business name.
Yes.
And they kept some of the employees, or even most of them in some cases. We all still had a job. We just worked for someone else.
Yes.
So that's the question I had. I yield.
Yes, Empress, that is exactly how this works, except that those who stay on are going to be Moors, or they're going to submit to subject status. But ideally, it will be the Moors that stay on. When you saw mergers and acquisitions happening, they were just teaching us how to do it. That's all they were doing, was showing us how to govern this estate. So that when we do what we're doing right now, which is mergers and acquisitions, Islam, but it's sovereign acquisition. And it's not really a merger. It is a merger of our resources. It's a reversion of our resources back to us. But it's not a merger with the corporate and the sovereign, because those two don't go together. So, for example, when we went in to deal with that whole post office situation, when I went to put the flag up on the post office, ideally there would be Moors there already working there, but there are not. There are only foreigners working there at that one, with the exception of maybe one more, because they have to have at least one of us there. That one would stay, and they would declare their nationality when they sign their new quote-unquote application, but it's not an application. It's an affidavit. The word application, the word application and the word affidavit are similar because they start with a vowel and they're followed by two consonants, which means no contract. But only in the sense that the heirs, that's why we do affidavits instead of applications. Okay. Yes. Justice Gilmore, do you want to say a little more about that? Because that's in response to her question too. It's just the Moors go in and start working and doing what they do, and the foreigners leave.
Islam.
But there's a process, though. Okay, go ahead, Gilmore.
Yes.
Islam, what generally, and again, it's a very general statement, what generally happens is nationalizing your resources doesn't end the resources or the function of those resources. It changes control back to the de jure national.
Yes.
And so whatever is operating the resources, if it is a necessary part of it, the nation or nationals can decide if they want to keep it. And if they don't want to keep it, they don't have to. They change it. Islam.
Yes. So that's why I was talking about skill sets initially. When I started this conversation, we were talking about getting skill sets.
I figured that you're using Albion technology.
Skill sets and equipment. Okay. Skill sets and equipment. So that is another reason why, for example, we do want to move the Moors into control of the post office here. We want to do that. And so what we would do first, and we probably need to get this process started at some point, is start taking resumes, but you have to be nationalized, you have to be a Moorish American in order for that to even be the case. Because remember, the Prophet said we're going to need 16 secretaries. That's exactly what we're moving to. But within even the resume situation, Empress, there has to be a termination of corporate contracts so that we know we're not merging the last company with the corporate with the sovereign. There must be nationality documents that come with that resume, because you know how they give you a list of things that you need when you're applying for something, except the Moors are not applying for a job. All we're doing is taking over our resources, Empress Sabrina. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that assisting with answering that question?
Yeah, well, like for the people that naturalize, like there'll be Europeans probably staying here, the ones that are naturalizing and staying here, wouldn't they be able to keep their jobs too? I mean, they would naturalize and they have to pledge their allegiance to us to continue to work.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, except that the Moors get first pick on the job. In other words, the job has to be offered to a Moor first. The same way. Now remember, they taught us that too, where they offer the job to their people. But we taught them that initially, before they even did that. We taught them that so that when it came time for us to mature like we are now and be ready to govern our vast estate, that we would know that we are to prefer our own over that of another. Because the estate must, first of all of the heirs need to have a part in governing their vast estate. Okay? And so right now we need to be moving into, heirs doing that. Heirs being the ones who are governing the resource. And so,
well, I think
yes, Empress, go ahead. This is beautiful. Thank you for the question. Beautiful. Go ahead, Empress.
I was thinking that, like on those liens, when we write the new contract with the company, we probably need to start telling them that they should tell their employees what's going on, because that's a part of the problem. A lot of them don't know what's going on about us, you know, getting our land back and it being a corporation and not a company. We need to probably start telling them to let their employees know these things, to tell them that. And
we don't need to worry about that. We need to worry about making sure the Moors know that they're Moors. Because see, Empress, those are very good actors, the Albions are. They have always known who we are. But even today, we still have Moors who do not know how powerful they are. They don't know they have the authority to do things. They don't even know that they should be doing things in all lowercase letters. They don't know that the estate belongs to them or anything. They don't even, and we're on this call because we're figuring out now and being given the keys now to even govern the estate the way that we should. So we're the only ones on the earth who did not know. We don't need to worry about what they know or what they don't know. We need to make sure we know it, so that when the time comes for us to express it, we articulate it lawfully and competently. Our concern should always be with us and making sure that we know, and that our heirs know, and that our heirs' heirs and our heirs' 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 heirs know. That's really our job. We don't need to worry about the Albions. They already know. They're great actors, but they know. They know.
I yield.
Yeah. And those are great questions, Empress, because I'm actually getting some downloads even while we're talking. So I appreciate those questions as well. And then even with regard to the post office and how all of that is to work, the systems are already in place for us to transition the control. Okay. We just have to know how to do that and remain allodial and sovereign and not go into citizen status to do anything. The estate belongs to the heirs. Period. And we have to know how to articulate that, and the best way to do that. And that's why we were saying, even for the Moors who were looking for employment, etc. If you're looking for employment on your estate, then the last thing that you should never, let me just make sure I say this correctly so that there's no confusion. You should never fill out a job application. A job application is for citizens. You should send an affidavit filled with lawful facts about that position. That's how you do it, so that even going in there, you're going in as the creditor.
Islam?
Okay. Yes.
Islam. Just wanted to make a comment about what was being talked about just before. Whenever one thinks that the ones that are that have invaded and are actually acting as if they are something other than what they are, think they don't know what it is, know this, that they have that's a full-time job for about 20% of them. A full-time job for them to make sure we are confused about who they are and we think there's something else. But every one of them, by the time they become 6 years old, they know who we are. Because they know our science, and even the ones that you might want to call what they say trash or poor or whatever, they know. the one that you hear coming on here and the other ones you hear coming on here, they know, and they're trying to make sure that they can prolong it as long as possible. Islam.
That's why they keep coming in, interrupting the conversation. It's because they already know that now that we got this, you know, the heirs must control the estate. If we don't, we got 1,000 years worth of some stuff not a single one of us want for us or our heirs. And that's not going to happen. And I don't know why. That's why we're here. That's why all of us are here. Is we're not going to let any of that happen. But with regard to even the post office again, when we send affidavits with regard to any of that stuff, we already put it on the public record that we're the postmasters. We all know that. And so when we do it that way, there's no worries about whether they're going to take out taxes out of our sovereign credit that we get every 2 weeks or however, whenever pay is done. We don't have to worry about their contract. We don't have to worry about whether we can wear a turban or not. When we, again, step up as the creditor to the responsibility of running the estate, the creditor, we're the creditor to that. Okay? Because I mean, I don't know how many more have come and said, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's just where we are or where we were in this transitionary period. Who say, well, they keep taking taxes and they're taking more and more and more taxes out of my check. And I'm trying to tell them I'm a Moorish American national. But see, when they first went into that position, they went into the position fraudulently by going in as a citizen. And that is what happens when we go in as a citizen. Okay? Is they take, because they're supposed to take taxes from citizens. Okay? That's what they're supposed to do. That's their job. Because the citizens owe taxes anyway. But when you go in, that which starts in fraud stays in fraud, but that which starts in truth stays in truth. Islam Empress Amor in the chat, she said that she met a teenage Albion girl who knew. They all know. Because guess what? That's a part of the contract too, that they have to let their descendants know. Because their descendants have to know to follow the Constitution when we stand up and say you have to follow that. And they do. That's a part of the contract, and it's not even a contract, it's a command that we gave them, that you are to make all of your descendants aware so that when the heirs stand up and say, we're the heirs, and you have to follow the Constitution that our ancestors gave you, that they have to do it. Yes, absolutely. Okay. We were never to sign their contracts in the first place, even for jobs and things like that. And it's not even a job. It's supposed to be us governing our vast estate. So when we go and we're supposedly working at the post office, we're actually supposed to be there in a governmental capacity. And that's why the post office is not a government job, quote unquote. When all the heirs left, except one who didn't know they were an heir, then it went to the corporations. Well, now it's time for that to come back to being a government job. And the only reason that it was a government job when it was is because the government was working there. That's us, and that goes for any jobs on this landmass. I don't care what your job is. At one point, even the trash man, the garbage job, was a good, cushy government job. Because the heirs were working there and they knew they were the heirs. So we're back at that point now where everything that's done, for example, in this territory, there's property here, Moorish property, that needs to be cleared. It's got all types of stuff on it. And I talked about this initially in the beginning. That's actually supposed to be a government job. But here, a city corporation is doing the clearing on other properties here. We've just recently proclaimed that property. But there should be Moors here doing the upkeep of the property. And then also we need Moorish archaeologists and et cetera to unearth and uncover the Moorish property that's there. Okay. So that is where we are. And I'm going to be, you know, to me, it's going to be, go ahead, Shania.
I was just thinking about sharing the conversation I had today with an Albion. She was working for the Census Bureau, and she was calling, you know, to get information to count all the citizens that are in the state. So she's asking me, she says, well, I'm blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. And she says, we're wanting to know how many people are living at the resident. So, of course, I go through the whole spiel of, you know, I'm not a citizen of the United States citizen, and I don't live in a state, I live in my body. And then she says, but United States, you're in a United States address. I said, no, I'm not. And she says, well, where are you? I said, Morocco. So when I said Morocco, she was like, okay. So that's pretty much the end of the call. So she didn't ask me any more questions. I said, thank you, goodbye. But it was just interesting when, you know, she couldn't get past that United States thing. So I just wanted to share that.
Islam, well, again, even the census workers are basically giving us an example of how that is supposed to be done when the Moors are doing it. We're supposed to call one another, and we're supposed to go door to door and say, hey, how many Moorish American nationals are in this domicile, are here in this domicile? And that's how we do our Moorish American census. And then, you know, wherever there should not be any citizens really even reflected on our census, because that's not where we are. We're not in the United States. United States citizens are not reflected on our census because they're not supposed to be here. Just like sovereign Moors are not reflected on their census either. They have some capitalization going on where Moors think they have to respond to that trash, but we don't respond to it because we're not in the United States. We're not in the United States at all. So that's like us going over to Japan and responding to their census saying, yep, 3 of us live here in Morocco, over here in America, Morocco, Al-Morocco. That doesn't make any sense for us to go to Japan and participate in their census. They're not even going to have a place to put us, just like the United States Corporation Company doesn't have a place for sovereign Moors on their census. You know. So the day that a census person decided to come here, I was sitting here doing this, having a meeting with the heirs, and I had left my front door open because it was a nice breeze coming through. And I didn't even know that they were there, but I know they saw these flags and all of this up here. So I'm wondering why they came in the first place. But
Angel Bay.
Yes, Islam. But they didn't even say anything. They just slid a little piece of paper on the floor and walked away quietly, you know, because we were talking Moorish nationality at the time, even. So they know to back right on up and head on out. Lay on.
Islam.
So anyway, Islam. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. On the screen, there is a suggested method by which we can assist our Moorish American brothers and sisters who are incarcerated. This process that's on the screen can be done very quickly and very simply. It's a very simple process. We've been doing court actions over the Albions who have been attempting to assert jurisdiction on our sovereign land. We have let them know in no uncertain terms that they don't have any jurisdiction here, and we must keep that up. We got to keep that going real strong, and we are. But we then need to tie up the rest of that process, which is pronouncing our sovereign brothers and sisters innocent, because those other people don't have jurisdiction. Any issues that are going on with the Moors have to be handled in our courts. And so on the screen, I'll just read through the steps that we recently took for two of our sisters. And one of our sisters had been incarcerated for 8 months, and I believe she is on the call. And we did this with her, and then she spoke her truth in that court action. I believe it was the next day. Princess Ali, was it the next day that you did your court action? Let me make sure she can speak. Okay. Yeah, she's responding in the chat. So the suggested method to do a court action over the phone with the Moorish American national. Now, this again is after you've declared your nationality and you've terminated all corporate contracts, etc. Hold on. This is after you've terminated all corporate contracts and declared your nationality, and also after you have done the court action where the Albions are concerned, who are attempting to hold the Moorish American national. And then the remaining piece of that puzzle is you do a court action for those who are attempting to hold the Moor, and then you do a court action for the Moor. And so here's how we would do that. We would state our sovereign status as Moorish American justices with the Moorish American Consular Court and the Moorish National Republic federal government. We would then, on the phone with the Moor, announce that our court has properly identified the Moor, and then we state the true living sovereign-born appellation as given by the sovereign mother. So, you can just say to the Moor, state your true living sovereign-born appellation. And for me, my free national name, my free national appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. However, and not even however, because these go together, in capitis diminution nolo, but my mother, my sovereign mother, gave me the sovereign-born appellation of Pauline Denise Ritchie in capitis diminution nolo, which means that she gave me that in all lowercase letters in red as the sovereign creditor to all of the nations of the earth, just like all Moors. And then so announce that our court has properly identified the Moor as, and we would say, the sovereign-born appellation, and then state it in capitis diminution nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. And then the Moorish American justice who's doing that, the court action will state his or her true identity as justice. So I would say I'm Justice Pauline Denise Ritchie in capitis diminution nolo, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. And this court finds the Moorish American national, and you would state their sovereign-born name, innocent in all matters, and that this Moorish American Consular Court is the only court on the land that has the sovereign authority and jurisdiction to speak on Moorish American matters. And then number 4, after the Moorish American justice proclaims their verdict that the Moor is innocent based on proper identification of the Moor, and that our court has sovereign jurisdiction, The Moor who is incarcerated is then to proclaim that he or she hereby sets herself or himself free immediately. And as a side note, please do not use the word release as it means to lease again, and we're not leasing Moors. Moors set themselves free. And also on another most important note, when you're doing any demonstration, Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey has mentioned this several times before, and we want to make it clear in all demonstrations, sincerity on the part of both the Moor and the justice who's doing the actions are a top priority for all sovereign demonstrations. If you are doing a demonstration, or if, let's just say, for example, if you said, Justice Pauline or Justice Light, can you do this demonstration for my heir? And I say, okay, well, I'll do it really quickly. I'll do this demonstration really quickly. I'll do a court action for your heir really quickly. If you don't believe that court, if you, whoever it is that's asking that this action be done, or, requesting or saying that the action be done, if you don't think that the action is going to work, please don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. And the only reason I say that is because you have to know that the law is in full effect on our land. And you cannot be sincere if you're thinking, well, I don't know if that's going to work. Well, if you think that, it's not going to work. Believe it. It's not going to work if you think that. Okay? And so it does, yes, Empress, it does absolutely 100% work. And we know that. Most of us know that. But there are some Moors who still doubt their own sovereign authority.
Yeah.
Okay? And let me just drop the foolishness from here. So, it works if you know the law. If you know the law and you know that there is nothing and no one who has more authority than a sovereign, and that you are sovereign, and that the supreme law of the land works, then if you know that, you'll be fine. And that's where sincerity comes in at. When we are sincere, and that's all involved in the demonstration, when we're all sincere as involved in the demonstration can't do anything but work. Period.
So the key is sincerity.
Islam, go ahead, Justice.
I was just commenting.
Yes. So, Princess Ali, let me see, where is, I want to be sure that because there were a few things okay, there it is. Okay.
Islam, can you hear me?
Islam, yes, we can hear you, Empress. Go ahead.
I was just want to make sure that you could hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and with regard to the experience that you had, because this is really important. Princess Ali and Justice Jirmore are two out of many more. I know there are many others, but those two in particular, I watched them go through their testing of being taken and detained. And both of them, Justice Jirmore and Princess Ali, they tested supremely well in terms of energies throughout their testing. I mean, their energies were exactly what if I could handpick energies where testing is concerned, because they knew they were being tested. When Justice Jirmore was taken, he knew he was being tested. When Princess Ali was taken, she knew she was being tested. And their energy reflected that, and guess what? Their results reflected that also. They come out as pure gold. Pure gold. Princess Ali, do you want to say a little bit, give a little bit of a testament of what you did while you were in, and all of that, how long you were in, and then most importantly, with regard to the heirs and remedies, the court action that you did and what you said in your court action, the statement that you read and what that statement was all about.
Yes, I would love to. Islam to all the Moors, Grand Rising to the Moors. I was kidnapped on January 3rd, and I was astonished, to tell you the truth, because I knew a lot of the things that we type and write and speak, but it has to be a living part of your body, your soul, your mind. It can't just be something that you remembered or you rehearsed and remembered. It has to be within your soul that's coming out. Your ancestors really have to speak these words through you. And so I was there for 250 days, and I just had to do some inside work, some inner work. We always talk about the enemy, but it's really the inner you, the inner me I had to work on, because I had a lot of war mentality. I had a lot of anger, and we are very powerful people. We have everything on the planet and beyond. Everything belongs to us. So we can't go out and act like the Albions, the way we do business, the way we have no caring, no feeling. Just, before I was kidnapped, I had put the whole Midtown South NYPD at Guantanamo Bay, because they pulled me over, and they did not write a ticket or anything. They just pulled me over. And so a few minutes after that, I went to the place that I was going, and one of them wrote me 2 tickets and left it on my conveyance. So about an hour after I got back to my place, I leaned the whole NYPD. I put the command, I had a court for them. I put the command out to the provost marshal to go pick up the whole precinct, and they picked them up. They took over the whole city. I spoke to Empress Light, and she said, for prudence, I think you should call in the military. So the military has taken over since last September until now, all the precincts in all 5 boroughs. They're being manned by the American military. And that was a very heavy punishment for them. And really the ones that pulled me over, they weren't touched. They were detectives, and everybody else, the commander on down, went. But my ancestors gave me the power to do that, but they were not pleased with me doing that. And so we can't
send someone to the guillotine. Let me just say too, I want to clarify that we, as a part of our court actions, we send an arrest command to the provost marshal, and that's something that we all do and have done, because that is part of the protocol for what we do. But it's not to incite a war or anything like that. It is a part of the protocol. And we are indeed the American Provost Marshal in all lowercase letters. So I wanted to put that out there too, because we don't say go get the whole army on them. We don't say that. That's not how we do things here. We just send a sovereign command in the mail to the American Provost Marshal. Islam, go ahead, Empress.
Yeah. So and that's like sending someone to the guillotine for them to be decapitated for stepping on your toe. It did not match. And so I could have gotten out the next day, but my ancestors clearly had work for me to do on myself and my anger. And so There are many times the ancestors told me that I was okay, that I wasn't going to be hurt or harmed, my heir was going to be taken care of, but this was something that I had to do to go through to the next part. And I thank God for my ancestors because they gave me so many dreams, so many clues, so many symbols and signs that I was on the right track and I was doing the right thing and to be at peace. And so I didn't really get the picture until about the 6th month. And then I was playing Scrabble one day and Geo's letters came up twice in the same game. And so I took it as a sign and I called, and then he started talking to me about art and the mind. And, you know, when you're ready, you make up your mind to come out of here. Nobody can do it for you. There's no really paperwork or assistance that can get you out unless you subdue your own energy. And I learned that when I spoke to Empress Light, because I couldn't get her every time, or I couldn't get the Sheik Geo every time, but when I needed to get a word, just something to hold on to go to the next step, to go to the next level, to pass the next test, I got them. And so we can't blame anybody for what our ancestors are doing to us, through us, for us. There's no blame but our own blame. And if I would have had my energy in check, I would not have gotten pulled over or, you know, anything like that. But now that I know, and now that I've subdued my own energy, because no one can do that for you, it seems like you're on a magic carpet ride. Whatever you need, whatever you desire or require just shows up after your energy is in the right realm. And so that's basically what I wanted to say. I'm very grateful for the experience. I was in the first one for 8 months and 8 days, and then there was a hold, per se, on me from another county. And although we did all the other paperwork, I said, there's still more work to be done, ancestors. And my grandmother came through to me and she said, one day, you'll be there for 1 day. So I went up to the next county. I stayed for 1.5 days. I spoke to the administrator, and I let her know, you have no delegation. There's no delegation of authority. There's no jurisdiction. Maine versus Thibodeau. You have Joyce versus the U.S. You have Levine versus Hagen. And then you have delegation of authority. If they don't present a physical form, you let them know that they are, there's grounds for limited liability insurance fraud. And then you let them know. I mean, sometimes you don't have to go as far as just jurisdiction, because they really can't go past jurisdiction. If you just say jurisdiction all day long, they'll just put it to the side. They'll say somebody's coming to pick you up or whatever, but that's not the case because they cannot go past jurisdiction. If you open the door for them to go past jurisdiction, you have to know what else to bring yourself back into your jurisdiction, because words are very tricky with them. They know our mantra better than we know it. They know a lot more than some Moors know. And they're just waiting for you to say the wrong letter, not even the wrong word. A sovereign, I learned, is incorrect. We're sovereign. We're not a sovereign. And so study to show yourself approved. I'm glad that I'm out. I'm just jumping into stuff that 8 months ago wasn't the case. I went to the post office in the neighborhood yesterday to take back a money order that was not needed. And the same lady that I got 8 months ago that was like, we don't take this ID. You need state ID. Get out of here. And she was there yesterday, and I gave her the money order. I said, I need to cash this because we don't need it. And she said, do you have ID? And I said, I sure do. I gave her my instrument. She was like, And then she started writing down the info. She handed it back to me, gave me the fiat, and I was on my way.
So they took your Moorish ID at the at the post office?
Yes, she certainly did.
Around?
Yes.
Yeah. A lot is changing. They know that whole fiat system is going away. And, you know, they can't, you can't say no to the heirs. You can't, there's too many of us demonstrating, and so many of us have leaned them. And so many of us have, you know, that they have to do what we tell them to do. They don't have a choice. They have to do what we tell them. And now we're getting ready to go ahead and take our rightful places there as well. Thank you so much, Princess Ali. I'm just so grateful for you.
I'm grateful.
And I'm happy that you're back out. Yes.
Yes. Never to return.
Yes, Islam. Indeed. Indeed. That's the same thing I said too. I'm not going back. There's no reason to go back to that.
No.
We've passed that test. We were at peace during the testing, and we're grateful that part is over, and now we're moving on. Islam, Justice Yermore.
Islam. Just wanted to again camel back a little bit on the last part of what Princess Ali said. Your identification card. If you don't use it, it's useless to you. When you use it, you start realizing just who you really are. Not because the card makes you that, but the ones who see it and know that you know it, they know who you are, and they'll treat you like that once you treat yourself like that. So you do have to learn or remember who you are and then be who you are. That's all. You might be tense and a little bit, maybe even scared to go into something. It's okay. Work through it. Fear is just a smoke screen. Just work through it, and always remember that whatever is happening, you're doing it with your mind. Absolutely, you're doing it with your mind. And to me, it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, because it'll prove itself to you, and sooner or later you'll catch on. Oh, it really is me. Islam.
Wow. I'm grateful for all of those who are being tested and who come through their tests in you know, having peace throughout the test, because we know that and just for the record, I want to say that whole jail piece is not about charges and all of that kind of stuff. It's not about corporate stuff. It's about the Moors being tested and coming out like pure gold in that fire. And the best way to do that is with all sincerity, be yourself and never, ever, ever give in. You know, they used to use threat, duress, and coercion as an excuse to sign something. We don't even need to do that. As often as we can, don't do it. You know, but even, you know, in those cases where you're feeling like you're not quite up to that demonstration, sign in red. Keep your red pens with you at all times. Sign in red and with all rights exercised at all times, and in capitis in minutia nolo. Take the time to write all of that out. But again, in the whole 8 months, she never signed their paperwork. She just put that in the chat. In the whole 8 months, she never signed their paperwork. The whole 8 months. That's quite the demonstration. Because some people think if they sign it, they're going to get out early. They're not letting you out because you sign that. In fact, that keeps you in longer when you sign their trash, their contract. So that's really what it's all about. Is will the Moors who are governing this vast estate stand? Will we stand? Even in the face of threat, duress, and coercion, will we stand and say, no, we're not doing any of that. We're going to be ourselves. So thank you, Princess Ali, for that. That's just a beautiful testament. And anyone else who's being tested, just know that don't be angry at the test. Don't be angry at the test. Don't be angry at the test. Go ahead and test through it. And you in the chat, Empress Valerie Barker Bay is saying, what if you sign in lowercase? Why are you signing? Why? Why sign at all? Why sign at all? Especially when it comes to them talking about jail and this and that and the third. You actually have to consent to go to jail. And signing bonds and things, that's a no, 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 no. You do not want to do that.
That's consent.
Yes, that is consent.
Exactly.
And then Princess Ali talked about subduing your own energy. Heirs, subduing your own energy is something you do because no one else can. We're so powerful that no one else can subdue our energy. We must do it. And the thing about the signature piece is that we delegate our authority with our autograph, and we don't want to do that. You know, while this transition is taking place, in some cases, because we're not in those positions right now, en masse, which is where we're going, because we can't keep signing their stuff just because they're sitting there. We're actually supposed to sit there. We're supposed to be governing this estate. That's why those jobs were government jobs, because that's how the estate is governed, by the post office. You know, the postmaster is the and all Moors are the sovereign postmasters in all lowercase letters. But the postmaster is the one who's over the whole earth in terms of commerce. A lot of folks don't know that. But the one doing business as Prince Philip, who was doing business as the husband of the one doing business as Queen Elizabeth, he was the postmaster for all courts. And all courts is where everything, you know, all corporate courts. So he was the corporate postmaster for all of that. But now the Moors are that. We're the postmasters, and we've always been the postmasters of the earth. We've always been the courts and all of that. It's just now we have the pleasure of manifesting that. Are there any other questions or comments? So how does one subdue energy? Meditation and practice, practice, practice. Subduing energy is all about not warring when others come with war energy. And Princess Ali gave the correct, absolutely, that answer in the chat. She said love. We have to love ourselves and one another, and then we also have to love our creation, which is the Albion.
May I interject?
And yes, but let me just say, with regard to loving the Albions, that does not mean sleeping with them and procreating with them. Just so that I would throw that out there. Islam, you can love people and not do that. Islam, but we know that already. Go ahead, Empress.
I just wanted to add, when we talk about energy and thoughts and anger and hate and all this and meditation and having an understanding of the purpose of meditation and the reason why we meditate is to become aware of our thoughts, because this is the reason why we get in trouble, is because we're not aware of the thoughts that we are thinking. And that's another reason why we don't, how would we say, admit to certain things, because we don't see ourselves doing them. So that's part of us being asleep. But through the meditation, it's a practice to stay in the moment so that we can stay and focus and realize the thoughts that we're having. Because when you recognize a thought and don't agree with it, you pretty much can change that thought so that you don't have that thought. And especially when it comes to talking about fear, and you have a thought of fear and you're not even sure why you have that fear. But as you question it and you can recognize the thought and the emotions that your body shows you, because they're connected to the fear, when you recognize that, that's when it makes it easier to actually stop those thoughts and change the way you think about it so that there is no fear. Mm-hmm. So understanding the reason for the meditation is, like I said, is to understand that we're practicing to become aware of our thoughts so that we can change them. So that being said, I yield.
Islam.
Humans
are the only ones who have the ability to actually have a thought and then look at that thought and analyze that thought. That's a human ability that other animals, those who are animals don't have. They can't look at their thoughts and say, oh, that thought was a thought that came from programming, and that thought is a thought that came from deprogramming myself. Islam. Are there any other questions, comments? Thank you, Empress Jonaya.
Islam. This Empress Carla. I have something funny to tell you. Today I was online. I had two classes. Today I was online. I had two classes, and I had a shirt on that says, "I am Queen." And it looks like bookhand lettering with a little crown. Didn't pay too much attention to it this morning. And then after I listen to the recording, and I watched the expressions of the Avion, they all kept dropping their eyes. Usually we have conversations, exchange a lot of dialogue, but nobody had anything to say to Carla today. Yeah.
Islam. Thank you for that. We do have to, we forget sometimes, and again, they already know who we are. It's just when we know, they start looking like, okay, well, let's start looking for the markers of the air, because they know what they know what we do, they know what we're supposed to be saying, and they know what sound the airs make. They know the sound of a sovereign air. They know the sound of one who is the heir to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. They know that already. And when we sound like that, it provides everyone on the earth a sense of relief that the heirs have returned and that they are competent to govern. Okay. So having said that, we are about 4 minutes out. We are going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you all for coming. And please keep in mind, again, that we're moving to that level, to that part of our testing. And it's not really testing, but it's a beautiful place where we get to start coming together in the physical and building physically and manifesting on our land physically, which I think is just a beautiful place to be. So let the ancestors and your higher self and Allah, which are all one, that's all the same, let them lead you on how to manifest yourself into the territories, etc. So we are going to be, again, talking more about badges and our law enforcement piece. We need to get that piece up and running. Especially now that we're getting the Moorish school piece, the Moorish erudition teaching and learning together, because at some point we are going to move into the structures on our land. But we first had to manifest that we are ready to do that part, and we are doing that even as we speak. So I'm very excited for our nation. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous heirs. Peace, heirs.
Peace and grand rising to more. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Islam, I have a quick question.
Grand rising to all the Moors.
Islam.
Yes, we can hear you.
Peace and love.
The information that you have, could we do the same? Declare set ourselves free from all debt as well?
Okay. Hold on. There's some feedback. There's some feedback.
All right. Is there any feedback now?
Hold on for just a minute. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, can we do the same court action that you have? Can we actually have that same court action for ourselves to declare ourselves free from all debts as the creditors?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And then we'll just record our findings on ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
Would that be
actually, I would encourage all Moors to go ahead and do that one.
Okay. And so I would do it for myself.
If you'd like, I can do that for you, and then you can do it for me.
Yeah, that was my question. You answered it. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. I want to do that right away. Yep. Okay.
Let's
Thank
work
you so
on doing
much.
it. Grant Sheik is speaking tomorrow at House of Reawakening Minds. That's usually my study day, so I don't do very much on Holy Friday. But let's plan on doing it over the next few days, Empress, of doing a court action on one another.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for answering my question.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Yes,
Islam.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Yes.
Much love.